Alright, I'm gonna keep this going because I'm still not done chomping on my fat ass pizza. So, what's new this week? Well, I guess this is technically last week, but it's on demand, so I guess shit, it's this week too. There's the IROS conference, right? It's like a robotics conference. Pretty cool. And they had the Black and Robotics events, some Black and Robotics events, presentations around that. Amazon Robotics had a recruiting event where they just talked about the work that they're doing. There's a ton of cool stuff happening in robotics right now. There's a lot more labs that I'm becoming familiar with. Everyone, I guess it's like application season right now for PhDs. So all the ML labs are like posting on Twitter about, how they're looking for postbacks and instructors or hiring instructors. I guess it's interesting too. They also have the NeuroIPS conference, which is like it's like a conference, or it's a workshop. Is it a workshop? It's like a competition, and if you win the competition, you get to present at the workshop MindRL. And the guys who started that project, I think they're all at Carnegie Mellon. And I guess I was reading a little bit more this week on like stats, like what the best computer science programs are and like why. Because I definitely didn't understand that before. I just was kind of looking at professors to see like, oh, who would I want to work with? And then I think about like going to their school, because it just really matters, like the people that you're going to work with. And that's how I would choose a lab. I also just think that in general, MIT is a really cool place. There's a lot of really smart students. Like every time I go to like a new conference, or there's like some workshop that I'm interested in, like either the presenter or one of the main writers on the paper, they're always at MIT. Like there's just something about the passion of the students there. Like those people are always doing the work. Like I'm about that too. I do a lot of work like in silence. Oh, that's pretty cool. So yesterday, one of the guys from, I think this guy's doing his PhD at MIT, but he runs the Neuro MML project, which I've been actually looking at for a while, but I didn't realize that this had anything to do with like open-endedness. Anyway, he posted on Twitter, Joseph Suarez. I totally know this guy because he started a whole Discord channel, and he even posted a whole bunch of resources on like how to level up your math to get ready for applied machine learning and like doing machine learning projects. Because I guess like when you first got started, his like math was poor, so he like went through the whole Stanford course, and really like leveled up his math. But then he made a whole bunch of content around like how you can do that. So that was cool. What else? Oh, so he posted yesterday that Ken Stanley, who's like the guy who basically is really spearheading open-endedness in terms of like artificial intelligence. There's a lot of other people who work on open-endedness, but I guess they're more in like the biology field. But he's thinking about it from computer science stand. I guess maybe that might not be right, but from my understanding right now, and he has an open-endedness group at OpenAI, and he was presenting yesterday, and so he presented at the conference. It was some European conference, probably like Navent or Navo, I can't remember which one. Anyway, so joined that Zoom. Super interesting, because we were talking about how one of the biggest problems in open-endedness right now is thinking about new domains to like what are problems that are like large enough that they should and could be solved by open-ended algorithms. Like what are the cool domains where we could like actually apply open-ended mechanisms to? And we were kind of like talking about that, like the environments right now like don't exist, and like how do you think about how to what environments would be like appropriate for that? Really, what problems should be solved with open-endedness? Like that is actually a really tricky problem. and he mentioned this guy. I've seen on Twitter before, but I had no idea what his specialty was. It's like not Josh Tobin. Was it Josh Tobin? Josh somebody. It's Josh something with a T. And I've seen this guy, he has like a hat in his Twitter profile, but on a lot of the threads that I follow about meta learning, he's always there like posting something. So I guess this guy is someone I should probably pay attention to. Yeah, but he was saying that he's doing something kind of in the field, and that this guy Joshua Suarez with the Neuro MMO, I might be butchering that too. I haven't looked at that project since like last year. I should though, because I'm pretty sure he's doing the MyNeural Neural IPS competition, and they released a really cool data set which I would like to play with. I think so. I was reading the problem, and initially the first thing I could think was like, wow, this problem should totally be solved with the POET algorithm. Like, it seems like the POET algorithm would be like ideal for solving it. From what I understand, they basically give you a whole bunch of like human priors, and it's in like Minecraft, and you're trying to get your agent to like find the diamond, but there's all these other tasks that you have to do before you can actually mine the diamond. Yeah. And so you have to like try to, it's such a POET problem. And the way that they talked about it was like, if you have a certain environment that's like tricky, so get your agent to like solve that environment, and then take the learning from that and then solve a different environment, a more complex environment. I'm like, oh shit, this totally sounds like Power Play or POET, right? That's also something important that I think I really have to like get caught up with, at least, and maybe I can do this, like sort of make the wiki of meta learning or whatever. Even though I think Good AI had a workshop earlier this year, which I kind of got kicked out of, but shut up. Yeah, no, they had a whole list of papers. I think the first one was like Debian. I didn't actually read that paper, but there were some interesting ideas presented there from the workshop that I did see. And from an earlier workshop, I think it was ICLR earlier this year, that's when I learned about Georgian, I'm really about to butcher this, Georgian Sagerbakken. I don't know. Well, this guy, his paper Power Play came out a very, very long time ago, but it was kind of one of the first papers that even talked about this idea of like meta learning and creating novel environments based off of like prior learning, and taking into account catastrophic forgetting, things like that POET and open-endedness is like built off of. And I really didn't know that, so I like walked into the I like tried into that workshop like, oh, this is just like POET, and everyone's like, no, it's just like Power Play. And I'm like, what is Power Play? And they're like, the guy who's presenting wrote the paper. And I'm like, Olivia, totally didn't know that. But there's not some starter, maybe there is some starter kit, and I think that's all the like cliches, not cliche, but like important sort of like novel information that you learn with a good PI, which is kind of why I think it is so important to, be at a PhD program around other students, around really cool advisors, or at least be involved in like Twitter communities so you can like understand what to read. There's like millions of papers now. How the hell are you gonna know where to start? I was even thinking about, like NYU might be like a really good place to study. And then I was like looking at their graduate programs, and even though like Jan LeCun is there, I don't think he's like taking any grad students. Like his face wasn't even on the site. And just given all that he's doing with like Facebook and FAIR, I would just assume that he's like never going to be there. And I don't even know what the other researchers are working on. Like I'm not familiar with their work. So I do kind of feel like it might be like a lost cause, to go there, because who would advise me? Some of the workshops that I've been to lately, there's a center for data science at Berkeley, the CDS, and really like Berkeley, their grad program with Peter's lab, with Sergey Levin's lab, with Ken Goldberg's lab. All those labs seem pretty awesome and like great places to study, really. And and if any of those people were your advisors, or Chelsea Finn, like a lot of the papers that I've been reading that come across the things that I'm interested in are coming out of like those labs. And then there's some from Columbia, and a lot from Carnegie Mellon, and a lot from MIT. So I guess like when I'm thinking about programs and like where I'd want to go, probably I'm gonna apply at least to some of those places and hope that shit works out for me. Who knows though? There's steep competition, but I don't know. I think, you know, I can make myself more competitive. There's a couple of projects that like I'm working on right now, so maybe I'll just build those out more and apply. But yeah, just some nighttime talks while I'm sipping on and chewing on this pizza. Some cool ideas that I've had that I want to share with really anyone who is interested in my journey, because I mean, shit, I do have one. Even if it's boring as fuck. Just like reading papers and thinking about thinking, which is totally a thing. So yeah. Alright. Oh, this green sauce is everything. I went to Sliver tonight.